Hey, check it out. This is Trace Masterpieces. In this video, we'll be talking about practice. What is it? How do we improve it? How do we become better at what we do? So stay tuned. Okay, so practicing. What is that? Why are you told to practice if you want to improve your artwork and that sort of thing? Well, what practicing does is it forces you to do stuff. It forces you to actually perform the process of creating art, right? And through that process, you become more familiar and you recognize like how things work. Like if you take, for example, this ruler and I want to toss it and catch it. If I haven't done that before, I don't know how to hold it. I don't know how much force to put into it, or how to move and place my hand when I let go so that I can catch it. You have to actually experience something to know that that's going to happen. And so you just do it, and then you realize what happens, and then you adjust things further to improve what you've done. Like if I toss it this way, that's pretty easy, but if I toss it the other way, like that, it's not so easy, right? Because there's like a different pattern to it, right? There's like different forces involved to get different results. If I want to toss it the other direction, like I just dropped it because I haven't done it that much, and the more you do something, the better you become at dealing with it. Okay, so that's what practicing does. It allows you to better deal with what's going to happen. It allows you to create certain results by setting things up so that those results can happen. Okay, and so think about other stuff that you practice in life. Like when you're a child, when you're younger, you're forced to practice the alphabet, learn the alphabet, learn how to pronounce stuff, and you're repeatedly forced to do that over and over again so you don't have to think too much about it, right? That's practice, basically. Even though someone else is kind of telling you to do it, you're still practicing it, right? So like even the words and sentence structure, we practice that over and over again, become better at it. And that's kind of interesting if you think about it. Like, and also it kind of reflects in your artwork, because if you think about your artwork, is that really your artwork? Like, is that really your style that you're developing? Or is it something that's been passed on? Because the words that you use are just passed on from the past. They're not really your words. The sentence structure and that sort of thing, you didn't design that. That's been designed throughout history from people in the past, and you're just kind of repeating what they've said. So these messages that I speak, I'm kind of recreating it in my own style by explaining things from my own point of view, picking and choosing what to include, what to exclude, to kind of create this image, this message, and that sort of thing. But all those different pieces are from the past, pieces that aren't really mine. They've been designed by other people, okay? And if you think about your artwork and how you're designing what you do, what are you picking and choosing when you do that? Are you choosing things that are from the past, that have been passed down in a patterned way, that you're practicing, like the specific techniques that people have told you how to do, like the shading and whatever techniques there are, certain color combinations and that sort of thing, or how to observe, how to measure, right? If we use a specific ruler, a specific measured way, there's inches, there's centimeters, there's all these different types of units of measurement. And it doesn't really matter which one you choose, they all do the same thing basically. They're just a different type of language, okay? Just like we have a specific language that we speak. Some people speak English, some people speak Japanese, It's just a different way, but it performs and does the same sort of thing, right? Everyone's practicing their own thing in their own area, right? Their own world, right? But it's the same type of practice, okay? And that's what your mind is doing. Your mind is like practicing and repeating all this structure, okay, all these structured ways of thinking and contemplating, right? Everybody's doing it, right? That's what our minds are designed to do, okay? So why do we need to practice? Well, think about how you are when you're younger and you don't have much control over yourself because you don't have the experience behind you. You haven't seen what's going to happen, right? You haven't grown up and lived through a lot of experience and judged and measured and seen how stuff is ordered, right? There's a regular order to everything. There's like a sequence of events that occur as you live through time, because timing's just different measures, periods, things that we can see or have a placement, right? Just like the placement of the months in a year, and we go through each one sequentially, right, to the next. We know what to expect. We can predict things because it cycles over and over again, and that's what practicing is. It's measuring this type of cycle that occurs when you do something over and over again, right? And by doing it over and over again, you recognize all the different details and states within that event, right? Like the event of the solar cycle of the Earth around the sun, and the way the Earth rotates and the moon moves around the Earth and that sort of thing, how it changes the tides and all that sort of stuff. We measure it, and that's kind of our practice way reflected in reality, just in a different way, okay? And we kind of are an extension of that. We're kind of repeating that pattern or that way of acting, okay? Because everything's kind of connected. Everything's kind of doing the same thing, learning from each other in a way, okay? Because, I don't know, we're part of that. How can we not be, right? We like to think that we're kind of separated and, free to do our own thing, but if you actually look at what's happening, you recognize that a lot of the stuff kind of imposes itself on you, and you're kind of forced to live with all that stuff, right? You can't just separate yourself and expect to do anything that you want. You live within certain limits, okay? You're bound by certain rules, okay? Right? Your body can only do certain things. You can only lift a certain amount of weight. And if you try to lift more than that, stuff breaks, okay? So, practicing, you recognize what your limits are by practicing, because you can't just instantly create an entire piece of art without doing anything. You have to go through the actual work involved, and the actual work involved takes a lot of different steps, right? There's all these different steps. There's ways of holding your utensil, right? Your tool, in specific ways that you hold it affect how that tool interacts with what you're using it against, right? You could use it on the side and get like a broader stroke, or like directly on the tip to get more finer strokes. So there's all different nuances involved in the specific steps that you take, and by practicing you explore more of those things, more of those characteristics, more of those different types of ways of acting. And by exploring more of those things, you acquire new understanding on how you can move yourself and shape yourself and control yourself in these different ways of these different patterned ways of practicing, of performing, that sort of thing. Okay, it's about becoming familiar with what you can do, what you can't do, what your limitations are, what your abilities are, and things like that. Okay, so practicing is important to understand. Like, it's not just this simple thing of doing something over and over again, right? When you're told to practice, so you're told to just do what you're doing over and over again. It kind of sounds boring, doesn't it, right? Well, think about it. They're not telling you what practicing is. They're just telling you to practice, and they assume you know what it is, right? but there's a lot to it involved. So hopefully that kind of opens your eyes about what practicing really is, because there's a whole bunch of stuff to it. It's all about pattern in life and repeating structures and things that occur over and over again, all the different steps involved, all the nuances and things, how things change. Being able to see that, recognize how the past changes through the future, how things connect, how things are ordered, like the numbers on a ruler, that sort of thing. Practicing counting over and over again, understanding the differences between one number and the next, right? All these things are part of practice. And you look at all the different professions out there, the lines of work, and the things that they've had to practice. It kind of puts you in a specific group, right, based on what you've done, because you become better at certain things by doing more of it, right? You can control that aspect of reality, that part of you, and perform it better than other people can, because they haven't done it before. They haven't done it enough to notice all the different nuances. They don't have the ability to control themselves, control their minds, and think and deal with that aspect of reality, that, you know, those circumstances and situations involved in that profession, okay? Like you have the doctors, you have the teachers, you have the whatever professions there are. And they've acquired that profession because of what they've done, like the practice that they've put in, the ability to control the situations and related to those subjects, and understand how those things evolve, how those things change, and work in reality and that sort of stuff. So it's kind of interesting to think about it. There's a lot of depth to it, kind of quickly going through it and kind of jumping around a bit. So hopefully that's giving you a lot of thought as to what practice is and why you got to do it, how it helps or how it doesn't help, how it forces you in a specific thing and makes it more difficult to stop doing those things because it becomes a pattern, right? A behavior that's difficult to stop, right? But if you actually understand it, you can kind of change things, stop certain patterns, stop certain practices that you do that might not be that good, focus on good ones and encourage those, right? So anyways, think about that.